In the endless black sea of space, a small planet named Viralia floated quietly. Once it had been a world of laughter and music. Now, it was a world of fear. The Virelians, a gentle race, had been sending desperate calls for help for months, but the stars remained silent. Every night, their cities burned. Every morning, fewer of them woke up. The enemy, a brutal species called the Darkens Empire, had invaded without warning. They were tall, armored, and merciless, taking what they wanted and destroying everything else. In the capital city of Ilarion, the last leader of Viralia, a young queen named Cerilyn, stood before the broken remains of her council. Her voice was soft, heavy with pain. "We sent our last distress signal 2 days ago," she said quietly. "If no one answers, we will not see another sunrise." The council members were silent, their eyes filled with despair. The Darkens had already wiped out 4 other colonies in their system. Viralia would be next. High above, the last of their defense ships floated like dying fireflies, their lights fading one by one. The Virelians had no more power, no more hope. But far across the galaxy, deep within a hidden command station orbiting Earth, Admiral Marcus Hale stared at a screen. For days his team had been scanning for strange frequencies. Today they found one. "Sir," a technician called out, "we've picked up a repeating signal. It's old-style binary mixed with alien code. I think it's a distress call." Hale's sharp eyes narrowed. "Origin?" The technician hesitated. "Outer Rim, Viralia system." For a long moment, the Admiral said nothing. Everyone knew what that name meant. It was one of the first systems humanity had contacted, long before war and politics forced Earth to close its borders. The galaxy believed Earth had grown cold and isolated, but they were wrong. No one knew that Earth had rebuilt, stronger and more advanced than ever before. Hale finally spoke. "Patch it through." The message came through, broken and full of static, but a voice was there. "This is Queen Cerilyn of Viralia. We beg anyone who hears this. The Darkens Empire is destroying our world. We just need hope." The room fell silent. The voice was filled with both pain and strength. A young officer whispered, "Sir, no one else will answer that call." Hale's jaw tightened. His voice was calm but powerful. "Then we will." Back on Viralia, the Darkens flagship hovered over the capital like a monstrous shadow. The Virelians hid in underground shelters, the air thick with smoke and dust. Children cried silently as their mothers tried to comfort them. They all felt it. The end was near. Queen Cerilyn stood at the entrance of a shelter, watching her city burn, her silver eyes filled with tears. She had to stay strong, even if only for a final moment. Suddenly, the sky began to shimmer. At first, she thought it was another Darkens ship. But this light, this sound, was different. The clouds parted, and for the first time in months she saw the stars. But these stars were moving, thousands of them, and they were getting closer. The Darkens stopped firing, their weapons turning upward. A massive shadow spread across the city. Then, from above the clouds, hundreds of dark metallic ships appeared, sleek, powerful, and all carrying the mark of Earth. The Earth fleet had arrived. For a few seconds, the world was silent. Then came the sound, deep, thunderous, and powerful, the sound of humanity's engines breaking through the clouds. Queen Cerilyn fell to her knees, her voice trembling. "They came." On the command ship, EFS Titan, Admiral Hale's voice echoed. "All units, this is Admiral Hale. Target Darkens warships. Show them what happens when humanity answers a call for help." And with that order, Earth's guns roared to life. In the skies of Viralia, darkness turned to light. Missiles streaked through the clouds and plasma cannons cut across the night. The Darkens ships, once feared across the galaxy, began to burn. And for the first time in years, the people of Viralia felt something they thought they had lost forever. Hope. The sky of Viralia was on fire. For months, darkness had ruled. But tonight, a storm of steel and thunder arrived from the void. The Earth fleet, From the ground, the Varelians watched, their hearts caught between disbelief and a hope they had long forgotten. Above them, the EFS Titan, a floating fortress of a flagship, led the charge. Plasma bolts sliced through the clouds, painting the night with streaks of brilliant blue fire. On the bridge, Admiral Marcus Hale stood, a calm center in the unfolding chaos. His eyes were fixed on the tactical screen. "Target lock on the Darkens command carrier," he ordered, his voice steady. "Let's remind them why Earth was once feared." The crew moved with practiced precision. Every hand, every voice perfectly trained. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. This was quiet, righteous vengeance. The first volley struck home. The Darkens carrier shuddered, its shields collapsing in a cascade of energy. Explosions blossomed across its hull like deadly flowers. On the ground, the alien invaders fell into panic. Their war machines faltered, their confidence shattered. Watching from the ruined Capitol Tower, Queen Saralyn felt her knees weaken. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "They are not just rescuers, they are warriors." Her advisor, his voice filled with awe, stood beside her. "It is said, Earth vanished from the stars centuries ago. No one knew what they became." Saralyn's eyes began to glow with a faint inner light. "Now we know," she said. "They became gods of war." In orbit, aboard the dying Darkens command ship, Commander Voraktar snarled, his scales glinting under the flashing red warning lights. Smoke and chaos filled his bridge. "Impossible," he roared. "Earth was a primitive world. They had no fleet of this size." His second-in-command hissed, "They must have been building in secret, Commander." Voraktar's claws dug into the metal console. "Then let them burn with their secrets. Prepare the planet destroyer cannon." Aboard the EFS Titan, new alarms blared. "Admiral," the tactical officer shouted, "the Darkens flagship is charging a superweapon. The energy readings are massive." Hale didn't flinch. His gaze hardened. "All power to shields. Launch Omega Wing. We are not losing this planet." From the docking bays, a new kind of fighter screamed into space. Black, sharp, and deadly. The Omega Wing. Each pilot wore a neural link helmet, their minds directly connected to their ship's systems. Commander Raina Holt's voice cut through the comms, cool and focused. "Omega Wing, Formation Delta. Let's make them regret coming here." Her squadron dove toward the massive Darkens cannon, a swarm of deadly hornets in the night. From the ground, the Varelians watched the streaks of light crisscross the sky, small against the vastness of space, yet powerful enough to shake mountains. They began to emerge from their shelters, their eyes filled with wonder. For months they had hidden like shadows. Now, they were witnessing what true courage looked like. As the battle raged, Admiral Hale's voice broadcast across every fleet channel. Humanity once stayed silent while others suffered. No more. Today the galaxy will remember who we are. His words echoed like thunder. On the Darkens flagship, the planet destroyer glowed a furious red, seconds from firing. Raina Holt and her wing dove straight into the heart of the enemy fire. One by one, their ships took hits, shields breaking, hulls cracking, but they didn't stop. "Raina to Titan, I have visual on the core." "Firing now." Her fighter launched a single plasma torpedo. It found its mark. A flash of blue light swallowed the sky. For a single, silent heartbeat, everything stopped. Then, the Darkens flagship erupted, a new sun blooming in space. The shockwave hit Varelia's atmosphere, shaking the very ground. Fire turned to light, and then, peace. Down below, Queen Saralyn fell to her knees, tears of relief streaming down her face. Her people began to cheer, a raw primal sound that echoed through the ruined streets. Hope had returned. In orbit, Hale watched the remnants of the Darkens fleet retreat into the darkness. But his face showed no triumph, only deep reflection. "We came here to save them," he said quietly. "But something tells me this war is just beginning." The communications officer turned to him. "Sir, incoming message from Earth Command. They say we've been detected by unknown forces." The bridge went silent. On the main screen, a strange symbol appeared, Not Draxon, not human. A circle surrounded by shifting lines of ethereal light. That's not possible, an officer whispered. That signal is from beyond the outer rim. Hale's voice grew heavy. Prepare all ships. Whatever's been watching us just woke up. In the farthest reaches of deep space, something ancient and massive stirred. A voice, mechanical yet ageless, spoke into the void. Humanity has returned to the stars. The cycle begins again. The story is far from over. The fires of victory had barely cooled over Virelia. We had pushed back the Draxon fleet, their wreckage a grim constellation in orbit. But as the cheers died down on the bridge of the EFS Titan, a new, unsettling silence took hold. I'm Admiral Marcus Hale, and I thought we had won. I was wrong. Something else had been watching. A symbol, a glowing circle of shifting light pulsed on the main view screen. It wasn't Draxon. It wasn't any language in our databanks. It just appeared. My tech officer confirmed our worst fears. It didn't travel from anywhere. It was as if it had been here all along, waiting. A cold dread crept through the command deck. Every time humanity reaches for the stars, something reaches back. Down on the planet's scarred surface in the ruins of her palace, Queen Saralyn of Virelia met my gaze. You saved my world, Admiral, she said, her voice steady despite the devastation. But this is not over, is it? I could only nod. We intercepted a signal. It's older than the Draxons. She frowned. Impossible. The Draxons claimed to be the first. I looked up at the sky where the remnants of the battle still burned. Maybe that's the problem, I said. They weren't the first, just the last ones to survive whatever came before. That night, the sky came alive with strange lights. Thin, silver streaks slid between the stars, silent and ghost-like. Our sensors picked up nothing. No ships, no heat, just shadows bending light. Commander Reyna Holt, one of my best pilots, took a small recon fighter to investigate. As she pierced the upper atmosphere, her scanners screamed. The sky itself seemed to shimmer, and then a structure materialized from nothing. It was a colossal ring of ancient black metal orbiting the planet, humming with a power that felt impossibly old. Symbols just like the one on our screen ran across its surface. Titan, this is Holt, she whispered over the comm, her voice tight with awe. You need to see this. It's alive. As she spoke, a beam of light shot out from the ring, engulfing her ship. Her cockpit flooded with alien symbols, and then a voice echoed, not through her speakers but directly in her mind, a deep, ancient voice that sent a chill through every one of us listening in. Children of Sol, you were not meant to return. Reyna, bless her courage, asked the question we were all thinking. Who are you? The voice replied, We are the architects, the first makers. We sealed your world to protect you from the cycle. You broke the seal. Her heart was pounding, I could hear it. Protected? You mean Earth was a sanctuary? Yes, the voice confirmed. But now the veil is broken. The galaxy will awaken. The light vanished. The ring went dark. Reyna was hurtling back towards us. Admiral, she said, her voice trembling, they know who we are. Back in the command room, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Our scientists were in a frenzy. Carbon dating puts the ring at 50,000 years old, sir. It predates every known civilization. Another analyst shouted, It's transmitting. Not to us, but across the galaxy. They were sending a signal, not a warning, but a proclamation, to everyone, and across countless worlds the call was answered. Dormant machines buried for millennia hummed to life. Ancient weapons stirred beneath alien sands. The architect's signal had rung the dinner bell for the entire galaxy. Then the Titan shook violently. A massive energy spike erupted from the ring, tearing a hole in space itself. A wormhole. From its swirling vortex, a fleet of enormous dark vessels began to emerge. They were sleek, curved, almost organic. This wasn't the architects. A new voice, like thunder, boomed across all channels. We heard the call. The architects are dead. Their machines belong to us now. I felt the blood drain from my face. Multiple hostiles, my tactical officer yelled. Hundreds of them, approaching fast. There was only one thing to do. All ships, I commanded, my voice ringing with a resolve I didn't feel. Form a defensive line. Protect the planet. The void once again became a canvas of chaos. Plasma fire painted streaks of death across the darkness. Reyna's fighter weaved through the maelstrom. Admiral, these things don't move like ships. They move like predators, she yelled. Then show them Earth still bites, I shot back. The Titan rocked under a heavy blow. An enemy vessel shattered, but it released a strange black liquid that crawled across our hull. Even in the vacuum of space, we were outmatched, fighting an enemy we couldn't comprehend. Retreat to high orbit, I ordered. I want that ring scanned before it's too late. As we pulled back, the alien ships did something strange. They didn't chase. They surrounded the ring, guarding it like a holy relic. From her ruined world, Queen Saralyn's voice came over the comm. Is this another war, Admiral? I stared out at the burning stars reflected in the viewport, at the new, terrifying fleet gathering in the dark. No, Your Majesty, I said, my voice heavy. This is the beginning of something far worse. The galaxy just woke up and everyone is watching us. Earth has been silent for too long. It's time the universe remembered why it once feared our name. The glow of battle still lingered in Verelia's sky, soft red embers drifting like memories of a war just fought. The alien invaders, the Draxen, had fallen back, and their mysterious black ring now floated silently above the planet. A victory, right? But Admiral Marcus Hale wasn't celebrating. Deep in his gut, one question burned. Why Verelia? Why now? Every great war begins with something small. A secret. A signal. A lie. Hale knew this one was no different. The next morning, scans from his flagship, the EFS Titan, revealed something new. Something hiding on Verelia's broken moon. A faint energy source pulsing deep beneath its scarred surface. Commander Reyna Holt strode into the Admiral's ready room, datapad in hand. Sir, we found it. The moon's not dead. There's something inside, deep under the crust. Hale looked up slowly, his eyes tired but sharp. Another Draxen base? No, sir. The energy reading, it matches the ring. Hale was on his feet in an instant. Prep a team, we're going down. The shuttle sliced through the silence of space, gliding toward the shattered moon. Its surface was a graveyard of rock and dust, pockmarked with deep craters and jagged mountains. But as they neared the energy source, faint blue lights began to flicker, rhythmic and slow, like a giant sleeping heart. They landed near a massive crack in the lunar rock. Hale, Reyna, and 3 Marines stepped out, their boots crunching on the dead ground. As they walked deeper into the crevice, they found ruins, metallic walls fused into the stone, ancient corridors glowing faintly with alien markings. These aren't Draxen structures, Reyna whispered, her voice tight with awe. They're older, way older. One of the Marines brushed dust from a wall panel and recoiled. Frozen behind it was a shape, a body. It wasn't human. Its skin was a shimmering gray-silver, its eyes were shut tight, and strange, elegant armor wrapped its frame. Sir, it's still alive, the Marine stammered. Before anyone could react, the alien's eyes snapped open, bright white, glowing with an impossible power. A calm, mechanical voice filled the chamber. You are not Draxen. You are from Sol. Hale raised his weapon slightly. Identify yourself. I am Kale Rin, last of the Architect Guardians. I was left here, to watch. Reyna's eyes widened. You're one of them? The beings who built the ring? Kale Rin nodded slowly. The ring is a seal, a prison, and you have broken it. Hale frowned. A prison? For what? The alien looked up toward the sky, toward the ring floating above Verelia. For those who consume the stars, the ecliptics, they were not meant to return. Suddenly the ground trembled, the walls pulsed with light. Everyone back to the ship, now, Hale shouted. But it was too late. Holographic screens flickered to life all around them, showing the same black fleet from orbit. The image zoomed into their cores, revealing twisted, living energy signatures. Kael'ren's voice echoed. They have found me. The Ecliptics use living ships grown from the remains of fallen worlds. They will come for me. And for you. Then help us fight them, Hale said, his voice firm. The alien's tone turned almost sorrowful. I cannot. My kind built them. We created life from energy, and they turned on us. Now the galaxy will burn again. A blinding light erupted from the chamber's center, a pulse of energy rocketing up through the cracks of the moon. From orbit, the Titan detected the surge instantly. Sir, we're reading massive power fluctuations. It's destabilizing the moon. Hale grabbed Reyna. Move! The ground split apart. Ancient machines, tall skeletal towers, rose from the rock, humming with terrifying power. One of them shot a beam toward Virelia's orbit, connecting directly with the dark ring. It's activating something, Reyna cried. Kael'ren turned to Hale, his glowing eyes flickering. The seal cannot hold now. You must leave this system before the awakening completes. Hale shook his head, resolute. We don't run. The alien paused, then stepped forward, placing a metallic hand on Hale's shoulder. Then your courage will be your curse, human. The moon began to collapse. As their shuttle roared away, they saw the surface shatter like glass. From the Titan's view screen, they watched the moon crack open, and something enormous emerged. It wasn't a ship. It was a creature. Black and winged, its body made of light and shadow, its eyes glowing like dying suns. It let out a roar so deep that even the vacuum of space seemed to tremble. Back on Virelia, Queen Cerilyn whispered in terror, The sky. It's alive. Inside the Titan, alarms screamed. Admiral, the energy reading is off the charts. It's heading toward us. Hale stared at the monstrous form on the view screen. So this is what they were guarding. The creature turned its gaze toward Earth's fleet. For the first time, humanity faced something beyond war, beyond logic. Kael'ren's final words echoed in Hale's mind. The seal is broken. The first hunger has awakened. What happens when a prison built to hold Star Eaters is broken? The war for Virelia is over. The war for survival has just begun. The moon was gone. What remained was a burning scar in the sky, and something far, far worse, a living shadow, spreading its wings across the stars. From the bridge of the starship HFY Titan, Admiral Marcus Hale could only watch as the creature unfolded. Each wing stretched for hundreds of miles, a tapestry woven from dark energy and shattered light. The ship's sensors couldn't even process it. The computers just gave up, flashing a single chilling word, unknown. Commander Reyna Holt, standing beside him, whispered what they were all thinking. It's not just alive. It's thinking. As if on cue, the creature turned its gaze toward their fleet. Space itself seemed to ripple around its eyes. In that instant, one of the Earth destroyers simply vanished. No explosion. No sound. Just gone. HFY Valor is gone, a technician yelled from his console, his voice cracking. No debris, no signal. It's like it never even existed. Hale's voice cut through the rising panic, cold and steady as steel. All ships form defensive grid delta. That thing can erase matter. Keep your distance. The Titan's cannons roared to life, unleashing bolts of blue plasma that sliced through the void. They struck the creature's body, but it didn't bleed. It absorbed the energy, its shadowy form glowing brighter, stronger. Reyna stared at her readings, her eyes wide with horror. Sir, it's feeding off our weapons. Hale's jaw was a knot of tension. Then we changed tactics. Get me that architect's signal, now. Deep within the Titan science labs, a team of specialists raced against time, frantically trying to decode a final, fragmented message left by an ancient alien race. They were called the Architects, and they had left behind a clue, a weapon. Sir, we have it. It's called the Sun Core. The chief engineer's voice crackled over the comm. The Architects built it to contain the first of these creatures, They called it the ecliptic prime. It feeds on energy. Sir, the only thing that can stop it is light. Hale's gaze snapped to the holographic map. The glowing monstrosity was inching closer to the planet Virelia, its last bastion of life. How much light are we talking about? The engineer's reply was heavy with dread. A star, sir. A whole star. Down on the planet's surface, Queen Saralyn stood among her people, watching the sky boil with impossible colors as Earth-S ships fought like desperate sparks against an encroaching storm. A small comm device crackled to life at her side. It was Hale's voice, heavy with urgency. Your Majesty, we may not be able to hold this thing for long. Evacuate your people underground as deep as you can. If we fail, the blast will destroy everything in orbit. Saralyn's voice trembled, but her words held the weight of a world. If you fail, Admiral, there will be no galaxy left to save. In orbit, the battle turned desperate. The Titan weaved through waves of dark energy that bent space itself. The crew felt deep vibrations humming through the ship's hull like an ancient, malevolent whisper. In the chaos, Reyna Holt gritted her teeth, her fighter dodging debris and energy blasts. Admiral, I'm going in close. I can draw its attention. Hale's voice boomed back. Negative, Commander, that's suicide. With all due respect, sir, she shot back. Everything's suicide right now. Before he could stop her, Reyna's fighter dove straight toward the creature's core, a swirling vortex of captured matter. She fired 2 torpedoes, then, in a final defiant act, activated her ship's pulse drive, unleashing a massive EMP blast. A shriek echoed through every communication frequency, a sound of pure agony. The creature twisted, and for the first time, it recoiled. Hale saw his chance. Now, lock onto the coordinates she opened up. Power the Sun Core prototype. The Titan's engines screamed as they rerouted every last drop of power. The ship's hull groaned, cracking under the immense strain. In the heart of the vessel, the Sun Core reactor ignited, a miniature star, born inside a cage of human metal. Energy at 120%. Containment is breaking, the engineer shouted. Hale's voice thundered across the bridge. Release it. A beam of pure golden light, brighter than anything seen since the dawn of creation, erupted from the Titan. It struck the ecliptic prime straight through its chest. For a moment, the entire sky went white. The creature roared, its colossal body folding in on itself, breaking apart into shimmering fragments of light and darkness. Down on Virelia, the people watched as night turned into day. The shadow faded, and then silence. Minutes passed. Only drifting stardust remained where the creature had been. Reyna's ship was gone. No signal, no trace. The bridge of the Titan was silent, the crew holding their breath. Then a faint voice crackled through the comms, weak but undeniably alive. Admiral, you owe me a drink. Laughter, raw and relieved, broke the tension. The crew cheered, some openly weeping. For a brief, glorious moment, hope had returned, but Hale's face remained a mask of stone. His eyes were locked on the scanner. Far beyond the wreckage of the destroyed moon, new signals were appearing. Dozens of them, massive, ancient, and moving slowly toward their system. He whispered to himself, it wasn't alone. Later that night, a message arrived from Queen Saralyn, broadcast to the entire fleet. Virelia stands with Earth. Whatever comes next, we will face it together. Hale listened, then turned to his officers. Prepare a message for Earth Command. Tell them. The ancients are waking. As the camera pulls back from the Titan, we see the battlefield, lit by the faint glow of wreckage and distant stars. The ring above Virelia pulses once, a faint rhythmic beat, as if something else was still alive inside. Across the silent void of the galaxy, every signal channel, every listening post, suddenly burned with a single, terrifying message. They are coming. In the command room of the Earth Fleet flagship, the EFS Titan, Admiral Marcus Hale watched a wall of holographic displays. Dozens of enemy fleets moving with an unnatural grace were approaching. These were no ordinary ships. They were ancient vessels, colossal beings of metal and flesh, each larger than a city, moving like living mountains through the darkness of space. "We've confirmed 27 separate contacts, sir," the tactical officer reported, his voice tight with fear. "Each one is radiating energy levels equivalent to a star." Commander Raina Holt, her uniform still torn from the last desperate battle, clenched her fists. The exhaustion and grief were etched on her face. "Admiral, how do we fight gods?" Hale's voice was a rock in the storm, calm, unwavering. "With everything we have, and with everyone we can find." Within hours, the message of Earth's return spread from the embattled world of Virelia to the farthest colonies. But this time, humanity came not as conquerors, but as protectors. The story of their impossible stand traveled faster than light, and a universe that had long been divided began to listen. Old enemies, once sworn to humanity's destruction, answered the call. The Andron Confederacy, masters of magnetic warfare, dispatched their war cruisers. The Virelians, rebuilding from the ashes of their world, sent every ship that could still take flight. Even the fearsome Draxan Empire, humiliated in their recent defeat but now facing a far greater threat, opened a channel to their former foe. A deep, gravelly voice, filled with the sound of grinding stone, echoed through the Titan's bridge. "Human Admiral," growled Commander Voraktar, his image flickering on the main screen. "You destroyed my fleets, but you also saved my people from extinction. The Draxan Empire will fight with you now." Raina's eyebrows shot up in disbelief. "Did I just hear that right?" Hale allowed himself a small, rare smile. "Yes, Commander." Hell just froze over. Soon, the space around Virelia was no longer empty. It became a beacon of hope. Hundreds of ships from a dozen civilizations began to appear, forming an unprecedented armada. Human destroyers flew wing to wing with alien dreadnoughts, and sleek fighter squadrons from across the galaxy took up formation. For the first time in centuries, the stars above a single world glowed not with war, but with unity. On her balcony, Queen Saralyn of Virelia looked up at the gathering of fleets, a tear tracing a path through the dust on her cheek. "The universe once ignored our cries for help," she whispered to the sky. "Now, they come together. Because one planet, one people, refused to stay silent." But in the cold void beyond the system, the enemy drew closer. The ancients, vast, grotesque constructs of living metal and warped flesh, moved with a horrifying purpose. Their very presence distorted light and space around them, and their voices, a chorus of cosmic dread, echoed across all frequencies. "We were the makers. Now we are the end." Aboard the Titan, Admiral Hale prepared his final transmission. This was the moment. His words would be broadcast to every ship, every soldier, every soul in the Allied fleet. "This is Admiral Marcus Hale of Earth's fleet. You all know what's coming. You've seen what these things can do, but listen to me. We are not fighting for victory today. We are fighting to show them, to show the universe, what it means to be alive, to stand together when every instinct tells you to run. Humanity does not surrender. And today, neither will any of you." A profound silence followed his speech. Then a roar erupted across the comm channels. 1,000 ships, a dozen species, one voice. "For the living! For the galaxy! For Earth!" The enemy arrived like a tidal wave of nightmares. 27 ancient leviathans tore open hyperspace, their bodies glowing with molten cores. Their weapons were not lasers or missiles. They were storms of pure gravity, ripping ships apart without ever touching them. The first blast tore through the Draxan vanguard, and half their fleet vanished in an instant. But the survivors didn't break. They roared their war cries into the void and kept firing. The Titan led the counterattack, its cruisers forming a shield wall of pure energy. The Virelians' crystal weapons painted the darkness in brilliant streaks of blue and silver, while the Androns unleashed magnetic storms that momentarily froze the gargantuan monsters in place. For hours, space itself burned. Raina Holt led the fighter wings, a blur of motion weaving through debris and enemy fire. "Omega Wing, on me! Aim for their cores, the bright spots between the armor plates." Her squad followed her into the fray, their small fighters like hornets stinging a bear. One by one, they pierced the monster's armor and explosions flashed like dying suns. In the midst of the chaos, a message flashed on Hale's screen. It was Cale Rin's final gift, the coordinates he'd sent before his death. Reyna's voice, crackling with static, broke through. "Admiral, that's the Suncore array. He hid the second one. It's inside Virelia's orbit." Hale's heart hammered in his chest. "That's it. That's our chance. If we can ignite it, we can burn them all." The Titan, battered and broken, turned toward the coordinates. As it approached, ancient machinery hidden within the planet's rings hummed to life, forming a colossal weapon. "Sir," the engineer cried out, "the energy required will drain every reactor in the fleet." "Do it," Hale ordered, his voice ringing with authority. "Tell them to give me everything they've got." Across the fleet, lights dimmed, engines died. The combined energy of hundreds of civilizations flowed into a single point. The Sun Core weapon began to glow, first gold, then white, then blinding. Sensing the danger, one of the remaining Leviathans launched a final, desperate gravity pulse straight at the Titan. It tore through the ship's failing shields and collapsing armor, shaking the bridge apart. "Admiral, we're breaking apart," Reyna screamed over the comms. Hale steadied himself against a sparking console, the fire licking at the bulkheads around him. His voice was firm, a final act of defiance. "Then let's make it count." He slammed his hand down on the final command. "Sun Core, fire." A beam of light, brighter than 1,000 suns, erupted from Virelia's orbit. It stretched across the darkness, and for a single silent moment every shadow screamed. When the light faded, the stars returned. The ancient Leviathans were gone, dissolved into glittering stardust. The Titan drifted silently, half destroyed but alive. A wave of celebration washed over the fleet. Cheers, cries of relief, calls of names thought lost. Queen Saralin's voice, filled with awe and gratitude, filled the comms. The stars were silent again. But this wasn't the silence of peace. It was the quiet of a graveyard. Wreckage drifted where warships once flew, glowing embers from the defeated ancient fleet scattered across the void like fallen stars. On the bridge of the EFS Titan, Admiral Marcus Hale forced his eyes open. Smoke stung his lungs, sparks danced in the dark. The only light came from the soft blue emergency systems. The silence was heavy, a suffocating blanket of victory and loss. His voice was a dry whisper. "Status?" Commander Reyna Holt, her face a mask of ash and dried blood, leaned against a shattered console. "We won, sir, but it cost us everything. Half the fleet is gone." She took a ragged breath. "But the enemy, the ancients, they're gone, wiped out." Hale's gaze drifted to the holographic map. She was right. The swarm of enemy signatures that had blotted out the stars was gone. All except one. A single faint pulse, rhythmic and weak, emanating from the ruins of the Virelian ring. "Then why?" Hale muttered, his voice barely audible. "Is something still alive down there?" Hours later, a small shuttle cut through the debris field, descending toward the fractured alien megastructure. On board, Hale, Reyna, and Queen Saralin of the Allied worlds stared out at the silent, colossal ruins. This technology predated every known civilization. Reyna pointed toward a faint glow deep within the wreckage. "It's coming from the Sun Core," she said, her voice tight. "But it's not an energy signature. It's a signal." They landed and made their way into the core chamber. There, suspended above a ruined platform, was a sphere of pure light, pulsing like a living heart. With each pulse, a wave washed over them, and Hale could almost hear whispers. Countless ancient voices layered on top of one another. "Do you hear that?" Reyna's voice trembled. "Yes," Hale confirmed, his own voice hushed. "It's speaking." Suddenly the light expanded, and a figure of pure, flowing energy emerged, tall, radiant, and surrounded by symbols older than time itself. Its voice was soft, yet it filled the vast chamber. "You have done what none before you could," it spoke. "You have defied extinction." Queen Saralyn stepped forward, her regal composure shaken. Who are you?" The being replied, its voice like starlight and gravity. "We are the starborn architects, the first to shape life among the stars, and the first to fall asleep beneath them." Hale's heart hammered against his ribs. The architects, the mythological creators of their enemy, the ancients. "Then why?" he demanded, anger cutting through his awe. "Why did they attack us? Why destroy everything you created?" The being's light seemed to dim, a gesture of sorrow. "Because they forgot. We built them to protect life, but time eroded their purpose. They came to believe they were gods and sought to unmake what they once preserved." Reyna's fists clenched. "So we were just another mistake to them?" "No," the Starborn corrected gently. "You were the correction." The chamber walls around them flickered, showing visions of early Earth. Primitive humans looking up at the stars, unknowingly guided by these distant minds. The architects had hidden fragments of themselves in humanity's DNA, a failsafe, a code meant to awaken when the universe needed balance again. "When our creations turned to darkness," the being explained, "we planted a seed on a distant world, a world you called Earth." Saralyn gasped. "Humanity was your legacy." "Our hope," it corrected. "You were meant to rise not as rulers but as unifiers. You didn't just conquer the stars. You healed them." The vision faded and the chamber returned to normal. The being gestured toward the void outside. "Our purpose is complete. Our time in this realm is over, but your journey is not. The stars still hold many wounds. You must be their guardians now." It raised a hand, and from its palm, a wave of light spread across the system. Wrecked ships began to reform. Scars on broken planets started to mend. The wounds of war vanished. "This gift is our farewell," the Starborn said. "Guard it well, for others will come." Hale's brow furrowed. "Others?" "Yes," the being replied, its form beginning to fade. "We were not the only creators." And then, it was gone. Back aboard the Titan, the remaining fleet gathered. Across 100 channels, voices of every allied species spoke as one. "To the fallen," Hale said, his voice thick with emotion. "To the living," Reyna added, a tear tracing a clean path through the grime on her cheek. "And to the future," Queen Saralyn finished, her voice ringing with newfound hope. As a new dawn rose over Virelia, the galaxy was no longer a place of fear, but one of shared purpose. Humanity was no longer an insignificant species from a forgotten corner of space. It was the light that had awakened the stars. But far beyond the known galaxy, in the crushing depths of a frozen ocean, something ancient stirred. Massive shapes began to move, and a new cold voice whispered through the void. "They survived. Good. The next test begins." The war was over. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy breathed a collective sigh of relief. The ancients were gone. The scars of 1,000 battles were finally healing, and the stars above were calm. But as we all know, peace never lasts forever. Admiral Marcus Hale stood on the viewing deck of the rebuilt starship, the EFS Titan II, gazing into the endless black. At his side, Commander Reyna Holt voiced the thought on everyone's mind. "Feels strange," she said. "After everything we've been through, this silence, it almost feels wrong." Hale's expression was grim. "That's the danger of it," he replied. "The universe is never truly silent. It just holds its breath before the next storm." As if on cue, a soft alarm broke the quiet. "Sir," the comms officer reported, "we're picking up a faint signal. It's outside the mapped galaxy." The signal pulsed through the bridge speakers, a low, rhythmic hum. It felt like a heartbeat from the void. Reyna's eyes widened in disbelief. "That pattern, it's the same one the Starborn left behind." Hale's jaw tightened. "But they said they were leaving this realm." "Maybe they did," Reyna whispered. Or maybe someone else found their signal. A new mission was born. Trace the signal to its source, beyond the known stars. The Titan II led an expeditionary fleet into the unknown, jumping into a region of space where the laws of physics began to break down. Time and distance warped around them. They were crossing the veil, the very edge of reality. And then they saw it. A structure of impossible scale. A colossal ring world, 10 times larger than any planet, orbiting a dead black star. Its surface shimmered like liquid glass, twisting as if it were alive. As they stared in awe, the signal changed. It was no longer a pulse. It was a voice. Calm, cold, and ancient, it echoed directly into their minds. We are the echoes, the true successors of the architects. The voice was perfect. Too perfect. It felt wrong. The Starborn failed, it continued. They let chaos rule. You will not. Hale didn't hesitate. All ships raise shields, he commanded. But it was too late. A wave of light erupted from the ring world, striking the fleet. It wasn't an attack of force, but of thought. Crew members screamed, clutching their heads, their minds invaded. "Sir!" the medic cried out. "They're hearing voices, saying, 'Serve the echoes.'" The ships themselves turned against their crews. Systems malfunctioned, strange symbols appeared on screens. The echoes were inside their tech, inside their minds. It wasn't an invasion, it was a test. A test, as Queen Saralyn put it, to see if they were worthy. "A test that kills people isn't a test," Reyna shot back. "It's war." Hale knew they had no choice. They had to fight. "We survived gods once," he declared. "We can survive echoes." They launched a desperate mission, flying smaller ships into the ring world itself. Inside was a city of light and shadow, filled with shattered statues of the Starborn. At its heart, a massive sphere of dark energy pulsed. "We watched your war," the voice said, as the sphere coalesced into a figure of pure shadow. "We are the echoes, born from the Starborn's failure. Where they gave hope, we give order." "You call this order?" Hale yelled, raising his rifle. "You've twisted their legacy into control." The echoes unleashed a wave of dark energy, and Reyna cried out as her mind was flooded with visions of a twisted future, with her leading fleets of shadow. They weren't just fighting an enemy. They were fighting a new version of themselves. In a last, desperate act, Hale activated the final Starborn crystal, a relic left behind by the architects. It flared with blinding light, a pure energy that made the dark sphere scream. "You carry their seed," the echoes roared. "You cannot stop what was meant to be reborn." The crystal exploded, not in destruction, but in a wave of purifying light that shattered the darkness. The echoes vanished, and the ring world crumbled into the black star. The Titan II drifted in the silence. They had won. But as Reyna looked out at the dying light, she asked, "Do you think that was the last of them?" Hale could only shake his head. "No, echoes never die. They wait." And far beyond, in the deepest dark, a new silhouette began to form from dust and data, whispering a single chilling promise. They have learned to resist. Good. The next evolution begins. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the edge of the galaxy. See you next time.